Hello everyone. So hope everything is good with you all. Before starting this video, if you still haven't subscribed Cascade Psychology, please do so because more videos are coming up. So from this video, let's talk about memory and let's get started. Memory is the process by which we encode, store and receive information. So cognitive psychologists commonly look at the mind or brain as a process of information analogous to a computer. Information is brought into the mind by the way of the sensory system and retrieved when needed to solve a problem. The mind contains three types of memory: sensory memory, working memory or short-term memory, and long-term memory. So we'll see about each and every type in detail. First we have sensory memory. Sensory memory is the initial momentary storage of information lasting only an instant. So, for example, when a companion says, "You're not listening to me," you can still hear those words and a few words of the previous sentence for a brief time after they are spoken. Thus, you can answer falsely, "I was listening, you said this and this." And you can repeat your annoyed companion's last few words, even though in truth you weren't listening when the words were uttered. So this observation demonstrates that some trace of sensory input stays in our information processing system for a brief period. It can be less than 1 second for sight and no longer up to several seconds for sound, even when you are not paying attention to the input. Then we have working memory, memory that holds information for 15 to 25 seconds. So this is conceived as the major workplace of the mind. It is, among other things, the seat of conscious thought, the place where all conscious perceiving, feeling, comparing, computing and reasoning takes place. So as you can see, information can enter working memory from both the sensory memory store and the long-term memory store. Sensory memory store represents the present environment and long-term memory store represents the knowledge gained from previous experiences. In this sense, working memory is analogous to the central processing unit of a computer. So information can be transmitted into the computer's central processing unit from a keyboard, which analogous to an input from the mind's sensory store, or it can be entered from a floppy disk or other long-term storage device, which analogous to an input from the mind's long-term store. So the momentary capacity of working memory is very small. Only a few items of information can be perceived or thought about at once. Yet the total amount of information that moves through working memory over a period of minutes or hours can be enormous, just as the amount of water flowing through a narrow channel over time can be enormous. And then we have long-term memory, memory that stores information on a relatively permanent basis. So once an item had passed from sensory memory into working memory, it may or may not then be encoded into long-term memory. Long-term memory corresponds most closely to most people's everyday notion of memory. It is the stored representation of all that a person knows. As such, its capacity must be enormous. Long-term memory contains the information that enables us to recognize or recall the taste of an almond, the sound of a drum, the face of a school friend, the names of the foods eaten at supper last night, the words of a favorite song, etc. Usually, we are not aware of the millions of items of information in our long-term store because the items lie dormant like books on a library shelf or signals on a computer disk until they are called into working memory and put to use. And then, So there are types of long-term memory. We can divide the long-term memory mainly into two parts, explicit memory and implicit memory. Explicit memory is declarative, whereas implicit memory is non-declarative. So we can divide explicit memory again into two parts, which is semantic memory and episodic memory. Semantic memory includes general knowledge, facts about the world, and episodic memory includes personally experienced events. Events occur in a particular time or place. Implicit memory we can divide again into two parts, where we can say procedural and dispositions. Procedural examples motor and cognitive skills, and dispositions examples classical and operant conditioning effects. Long-term memory and working memory are sharply differentiated, so we'll see what are these differences. Long-term memory is passive, whereas working memory is active. Passive means a repository of information, whereas working memory is a place where information is thought about. And long-term memory is of long duration, and short-term memory is of short duration. So in long-term memory, some of the items last a lifetime, whereas in working memory, items disappear within seconds when no longer thought about it. And long-term memory has unlimited capacity, and working memory has limited capacity. So which means all your long-lasting knowledge is in the long-term memory, and only your present thoughts are in the working memory. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you need any help regarding notes and more facts, please do contact me via my email address cascade.psychology@gmail.com. And also don't forget to like and subscribe Cascade Psychology. Watch my next video on personality. Thank you.